Hi everyone, I'm Kristen. Today I'm going to be sharing all of the books that I read in the month of April. Recently, I have been doing vlog style monthly wrap-ups, but that just was not something in the cards for the month of April. Unfortunately, I did start it, but it never really panned out. As you'll see, I only read and completed 3 books in the month of April. I picked up a lot of things, I put down a lot of things, and I am doing other reading vlog projects that in combination with some computer problems that I'm having, it's just making vlogging not consistently be the right option for me. So today I'm going to do a traditional monthly wrap up. So I'm going to share all of the books rather that I picked up, read a portion of, and then wound up putting down for various reasons. The first of which was one of my new releases that I was super excited about. It is a priority read for 2025, and it is not a book that I plan to put down forever, but I started to read Holy Terrors, which came out at the very beginning of this month, the third and final book in the Little Thieves trilogy, something that I was heavily anticipating. I had put both the audio and the ebook copy on hold at the library, and the audiobook is the one that came through quickest. So I actually wound up picking that up, I think the day that it released, or maybe the next day, and within 2 days, like within 48 hours, I had listened to 91% of that book. And at that point, as I was getting into like the end game, the end rollout of everything happening, I just felt like I wasn't fully appreciating the book with the speed with which I was like consuming it and the complexity of the plot from an audio perspective. I was right there with all of the emotional elements and the relationship stuff that was happening with our main character, but the plot itself, I felt like I hadn't really fully ingested, and so I was staring down the ending of a highly anticipated book and feeling like I hadn't really appreciated it. So I actually decided that I was going to stop listening to the audiobook and I was going to go back and read the ebook from the beginning with my eyes, which is kind of a dramatic choice to make when you're at the 91% mark. I have since also received a physical copy of this book from my friend Taylor. So I have the physical copy. I have an ebook at the library that I'm going to read between the two of them, and I'm actually just going to start this book over and read through it. So I read 90% of Holy Terrors in April, and I'm going to reread it. Another book that I started to read in the month of April and decided to DNF for good is Long Live Evil by Sarah Rees Brennan. And the reason that, or this setup is that a character from our world who has terminal cancer finds the opportunity or gets the opportunity to travel into the world of her favorite fantasy series and get a cure. I liked the concept. I really wanted to like it. The dialogue was really challenging for me. I didn't like the way that she was referring to these book characters as if they're book characters. Like as if they're not real. She wasn't talking to them like they were real people. She also, as a way to like explain why this character is suddenly acting differently, describes herself as having the amnesia. Like the amnesia, and she keeps saying it that way. And like, what person ever says that? Like, I get it that like it's a trope, but no one describes it as the amnesia. Like no human being would say that, and it just felt really, really awkward that she kept referring it to as, oh yes, I've got the amnesia. Like, no, you would say I have amnesia. I actually took a screenshot, and of course I always do this where it's like the stuff that I need to film these videos is on my phone that I'm filming this from. But I took a screenshot, maybe I'll pop it up, where she's like directly saying, we're the villains, and we're the evil crew, and this is our evil lair. And you're like, no one would say this. It was so cringy. I couldn't get past it. I just could not see myself continuing to read on in this book with this kind of dialogue for the whole length of the book. I just couldn't do it. I also picked up The Right Move by Liz Tomford. I almost certainly got this recommendation from Chandler Ainsley because I don't feel like any other channels that I follow read this author. Like I'm pretty sure that this is a Chandler Ainsley recommendation, and I will say that she has gotten, I'm not having good romance picks this year. I'm not finding successful contemporary romances this year for me. And it is a sports romance where this girl, like this past sister, her best friend now needs a house. She's getting out of an engagement. Her friend begs her brother, who is an extremely successful basketball player, to let this girl live at his place, even though she also could just live at their place. But it was like, no, I don't want to do that. I also don't want to live with your brother. But then she winds up living with the brother for very convenience reasons. The main character was like really, really in their head about all of the unfortunate things that are going on in her life right now. And those are very valid things. And another time I might have been able to read this, but for where my head was at in April and for what I was looking for, I didn't want to live in that headspace constantly. Like nothing was happening in the plot at all, to the extent, like, I don't know how far into this I got. Not extensively far. I just didn't want to live in her headspace for any longer than I already had. And whether or not it was going to get better is irrelevant, because I just couldn't get through that part of the book. Another book that I picked up around the same time when I was like desperate for an audiobook was A Harvest of Hearts. Let me find the author. By Andrea Eames. And this is a book that I had as like a new release that was coming out this year that I wanted to check out. In the beloved tradition of Howl's Moving Castle, a whimsical and unforgettable story of fantastic adventure, common sense, and the power of love to overcome the greatest obstacles. So in this world, these sorcerers in the big city kind of come, and their like desire and their desire by the local people is like, they take like little tiny bits of their of their hearts to fuel their magic, and every now and then they'll like actually take someone and their heart, and we don't really know anything else beyond that. And a sorcerer comes to town, usually it's sorceresses, but a sorcerer comes to town and accidentally snags our main character's heart. And so she has after he leaves, she has this like, she just kind of starts falling apart. She can't stop thinking about it. She feels incomplete. Like she needs to track down this sorcerer, which she does. And I think that's where the Howl's Moving Castle kind of part of it comes into it. She like moves into his estate, let's say. But I just like wasn't really feeling it. I thought the narration by our main character was very interesting, but ultimately not for me. It had a very frankness about stuff. It was frank to the point of almost being crass, but not quite. And so I actually liked that it was frank, but ultimately, like, I just wasn't gelling with the narration overall. She was really hung up on her personal appearance and her like plainness and etc. And I just lately, if authors constantly talk about the main character's appearance, it just becomes a lot for me. I don't know. I'm finding that I'm not gelling with like excessive descriptors of people's appearances on page anymore. Maybe it's an age thing. I don't know. So let's talk about the books that I actually did read. I finished Before They Are Hanged by Joe Abercrombie. This is the second book in the first Law trilogy. I am doing a recap vlog for it. I've just been really, really slow on editing vlogs because of computer problems that I'm having. So I'm doing a recap video where I go through all of the plot details of the books in the first Law world. I did enjoy Before They Are Hanged. I feel more and more endeared to these characters. In particular, Logan, who was kind of my favorite in the first book. I love Logan. I don't even really feel like he's bad. There's like something going on with this like Bloody Nine thing that it was expanded upon in terms of his violence, but Logan himself, I don't see any issues with. Is he even grim? Is he a dark, gray, morally gray character? I don't think so. I think he's a gem. I love the progression with Giselle's character in such a smooth way, almost to the extent that at times I was like, is this for real? Like, is this the arc that we're having with Giselle? I kind of love it. And Glokta, I can see why people do really like Glokta, especially more so. I felt like he was a big mover and shaker in this particular book. I didn't really notice that when I was doing like the recaps, that the other perspectives were just kind of like journeying, and they were kind of giving us more world history information, but that Glokta was like the real big plot pusher, the real big drama maneuvering character in this particular book. I feel like this book really solidified for me that I think it's going to come down to whether or not you like the humor as to whether or not this series is going to work for you. The characters are not cracking jokes to each other. It's the way that Joe Abercrombie is describing the world and the scenarios and the situations in like a little tongue-in-cheek, a little satirical, just the specific like phrasing that he uses to describe observances about this world and about the like world at large are really funny. And if you don't find that funny, then these books are kind of probably boring and pointless. The ending left me in a really, what is the point of this? kind of place. And I think perhaps that's part of it. I have heard people say that like that part of this whole series is just like an element of pointlessness to stuff, which is a little bit distressing. I'm concerned that I'm not going to have big payoff here. And I guess that that's possible, right? I definitely don't anticipate like how could they turn things around. And that's, again, it's a grimdark series. But it's the humor and the way that Joe Abercrombie like describes this world, describes human nature in a really fun, satirical, not fun, in a satirical way that I am enjoying and appreciating, and he has done a fabulous job of endearing me to these characters. So the plot is perhaps pointless, but I'm at least enjoying the ride. Then I read Emperor of Ruin by Django Wexler. I mentioned in my March wrap up, in my March reading vlog, that I had read the second book, Blood of the Chosen, in the Burningblade and Silvereye trilogy. I had this idea like maybe I should just pick up the third book right away, because otherwise I'm going to be 6 months, 12 months, 18 months from now being like, should I read the next book? Do I really like this series? Is it worth it? And I was like, why don't I just pick up this book and read it? And then decision made. And I don't have to re-have this should I, shouldn't I again down the line. And so I did. I just read it. I listened to the audiobook using Everend, and again, it's like I enjoy where we got. I liked the overall of this series. I think what I would say about this series at large, which is a sci-fantasy series following two siblings who are given the what's that group monikers, Burningblade and Silvereye. We have Maya and Geyer, who are split up when they are young, one of which who is taken in by this like order of governance within the world who are magic users, and she very much so grows up drinking the Kool-Aid of the order and the right order of things within this world. And then Geyer, who has had his life kind of fall apart after the separation of the two and winds up feeling pretty antagonistic and rebellious against the Empire. If you are looking for more sibling interactions, you do get more of it in the third book. I kind of liked where we started out in the beginning of the third book. Personally, I think that this series did a really good job of showing that there is no one right, perfect way. And Maya and Geyer are really good examples of people who want the right things for the world and humanity at large. They just have different thoughts about how that should go, like how you should go about that, or what that should look like, because of the ways of how they were brought up and the experiences that they've each individually had. And you can actually really, really easily see both sides of it based on where each of those characters are. I think it did a really good job of showing that like no, let's say, governing body is going to be perfect for everybody. But ultimately, this is not a series for me. It was a very good series. It just isn't to my personal like preferences. If you are looking for like really tons of like action and plot and adventure and fight scenes and drama in that perspective, like military drama and action, then this is a series that you should check out if you haven't already. It does read a little bit younger just because of the ages of our main characters. Not just because of, but the perspectives that our main characters are giving us, Maya being 17, 18, and Geyer being like 20, they just have a little bit of a young nature and tone to them, especially with certain relationships that are taking place over the course of the series. So this could be a really good like starter sci-fantasy for you if you are bridging the gap, or if you know someone who is bridging the gap from like middle grade or young adult into adult sci-fi and fantasy, this could be a really good example of that, especially if they're really, really into like fight scenes, etc. So while I think this is underhyped for what it is. Like, even though it's not my perfect series, I do think this is a really good series. I really enjoyed a lot of elements of it. And I liked that it left the world in kind of a messy place. Like, I'm a little bit on the fence about how messy of the world, how messy things are in the world where we left it, and how different things, like, is there a lot of difference from where we started this series? I'm personally not sure. But overall, I like that it wasn't like, okay, all of the fighting is done, the world is a perfect place now, everything will be great. Like, it's like, there's question marks, there's a lot up in the air still at the end of this series, and I actually found that kind of refreshing. So if you are into action, if you are into fight scenes and lots of good stuff like that, I actually do think this was pretty good. And there is a character who is very detestable, super, super annoying in the first book, who has a really, really great character arc over the course of the series. So I really love that. And then the third and final book that I finished this month was Beg, Borrow, or Steal by Sarah Adams. This is a contemporary romance book. Again, I specifically picked up this book because of a recommendation on Chandler Ainsley's channel, who's one of the only contemporary romance channels that I follow. So if you have like if you have some other channel recommendations for me for contemporary romances, put them in the comments down below, just because while I really enjoy her content, period, and will continue to watch it, I don't actually feel like we always have the best sync up in terms of like preferences for romance books. And this year in particular, I feel like every contemporary romance book that I'm reading is totally fine, but not good, or like not great for me. So this is a, I guess, hate to love, but our heroine is a school teacher who wants to write a romance book, or who has written a romance book and doesn't really know what she's going to do with it. And then our hero, who is also a school teacher, they teach the same grade, they've been kind of enemies, I guess, rivals since first meeting each other in college. They now happen to teach the same school, they teach the same grade, and even though he is such a nice guy and so charming and amazing, she just really, really hates him, you know? Like, it's that setup. Who also happens to be an extremely successful mystery author, using a pseudonym nobody knows. And he winds up buying the house right next to hers, and they wind up kind of chatting about books. He winds up reading her manuscript and offering to give her help. General issues that I had with this book at large is just like, I'm really, really tired of these like hate to loves where it's like one misunderstanding years ago, and that we make a point of like expressly sharing from our main POV. Actually, I think we only got her perspective, if I'm remembering correctly. From her perspective, like that actually he's really a great guy. And then we like list off, he does this, and he does this, and he does this. Save it. Say, actually he's totally fine, he just rubs me the wrong way, or whatever. Save all of those things. Like, please do not describe to me all of the ways in which this guy's actually a good guy. I just want you to show me as they start to get to know each other better in different ways. No, just me? They did it in, what's the other one? It was like that novella by Ellie Hazelwood, Two Can Play. Same thing. I thought this book was a little bit boring. I personally was not endeared to our main character. This is the second Sarah Adams book that I have read. I also read Cheat Sheet. I think that I don't really, really like Sarah Adams' heroines. I thought the one in Cheat Sheet was totally fine, but there was like a certain neurotic element to her that didn't gel with me. And the main character in this book is somebody who needs to be needed, going so far as to feel upset about the successes and progress in the lives of the people, like of her loved ones, because it makes them need her less. And that is something that really, really doesn't sit well with me. I think because I feel like I have been on the receiving end of this, perhaps. Like, it maybe brought up some stuff for me where I have dealt with those people from the other end. And so I really struggled with it. And overall, I just thought it was very fine. I just thought this was a totally fine book that personally didn't really do anything for me. And that's kind of where I'm at with romance books this year. Unfortunately, they're all just super fine, but I have not found any like new, oh my god, I loved every minute of that kind of romance books this year, alas. So again, if you have maybe a specific romance recommendation, but more specifically, channels. If you have romance channels that you think I would really like, or perhaps you yourself have one, let me know down in the comments down below. That is everything that I read and started to read in the month of April. Let me know how April went for you. May is shaping up to be a very interesting month so far. I'm doing a project vlog as well this month that is a little bit different from the other ones that I have been doing lately. And I've got some stuff to read. I'm not going to do a priority reads update because things in April were a little bit messy. And actually, I did not make any progress, technically, in those priority reads. So I've got a lot to do in May. I will see you guys next time. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.